What's dark web? And that's for fucking pedos and stuff, isn't it?
We lost 2 of our listeners. 4 left now.
I had Alistair over him to win by knockout.
It was nice and fucking straight until you fucking touched it.
You said chuck the Dell on the hip.
Yeah, you were bad at it.
Get down, baby.
Let's go podcast. Woo!
Are we podcasting now?
Well, you never think he was a Never think he was a podcast host, did you really? I'll try and dial in. I mean,
I think he said he put his kids to bed or something or whatever.
yeah. Fucking size of my head. Jeez, getting worse, man.
I can't say nothing. Look.
I gotta do something. I gotta stop eating. That's what I gotta do.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, I know, especially when you like.
And in my case, drinking Stella as well.
I don't drink though, see, very, very rarely. Very rarely. So imagine I did. House. But, what's news? Well, obviously there's plenty with last night's boxing and stuff, but and next week's boxing. Is it next week?
Yeah, it's for the next 3 weeks, aren't it? 4 weeks. Fight Club.
Good setup, wasn't it?
Brilliant, yeah. I was thinking this. Like I said last week or the week before last, whatever it was, I was actually down at Eddie and saw the Matchroom headquarters a few years ago for the Froch Ward press conference. They had the British one there in the garden. It was a brilliant setup then. You could see I actually went in. I had to go inside the building at one point as well. I got slightly lost, and I ended up in the Matchroom archives room, like full of old videotapes, all the boxing matches they recorded, snooker, darts, just a huge rooms full of tapes. And I was actually looking for the toilet, but I just took a wrong turn and a little wander around Barry Earn's house. But in fair play to Eddie, he took a massive gamble deciding to put that on, because he could easily just put the same show on with a lot less finance and a lot less stress and a lot less uncertainty, probably, in like the Brentwood leisure centre down the road. They often have boxing.
Yeah, he could have. You know, he could have just got the York Hall out or something, couldn't he?
Yeah, easily.
Nobody in there, like.
So I mean,
But,
I think a lot of credit for him.
Yeah. It was a cracking setup. I was quite surprised how well it went, to be honest, because I was thinking, I wasn't too fast on the Frank Warren show. It didn't quite. I don't know. It didn't quite work. I don't think. It didn't feel right. It felt empty, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you watch the MMA shows, they don't seem. It's enjoyable to watch for no fans.
Yeah, I think part of the thing with the Frank Warren shows as well, I think they were more prospect against journeyman. I mean, they weren't quite some of the level of some of the fights we have, but they weren't. The matchups themselves weren't always the best either.
I think we said this. I don't know if it was me or me and Lily, that if you're going to put boxing on with no fans, they got to be 50-50 fights. They got to be real fights, because nobody's going to tune in to watch a guy who won in 50 fights. So I mean, just have that guy take him around. It don't work. So he put on some good fights, and it was a good show, really good show. In fact, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just looking when they put the high shot of the ring. I was looking at it. I mean, and actually the cover of the ring didn't seem a massive cover. So if it had have rained, I think all the officials would have been soaked, especially the ones on the outside, right on the edge of the sort of the ring. And you know, well, sometimes you have sheeted rain like we have here in Wales. Sometimes the rain actually, I can easily imagine that get underneath that canopy onto the ring as well.
Yeah, that's a risk you've got to take. Well, you haven't got to take it, but I think it worked out well. It was better than I thought it was going to be anyway. Yeah. It seemed a bit special. You know what I mean? Watching it, and it felt like you was watching something put on for people at home. I mean, it felt like that rather than just a couple of boxes chucked in the studio. It felt good. It felt like a good show, and obviously Welsh people had a vested interest, Welsh boxing fans anyway, with Gavin Gwynne. He gets better every fight, doesn't he? I know the results haven't quite been what he wants, but he's improving every fight. I think anyway, even though the results aren't quite what he's after.
Yeah, I think with Gavin's fight, I mean, it was mentioned, I've seen it mentioned a lot today on the social media. I mean, his lack of power was obviously a massive issue for him. And Tennyson was just able to walk him down really right from the opening bell. And I know Gavin did have a couple of good rounds, which the commentators seemed to miss somehow. I mean, Gavin, all the good work that Gavin did was just totally ignored. But
I'm not a big fan of Macklin. I don't rate his commentary much, to be honest. I think he was the one last night, wasn't he? But it's expected from Sky. That's what we come to. If you're not a Sky fighter, then you don't get any credit at all. Like you say, I thought Gavin won quite a few rounds. He boxed well. He was the better boxer. It's just obviously Tennyson has got that special kind of power. And I've watched, same as you, I've watched Gwynne loads of times early on, and it's known that more often than not you're in it for the full duration of the fight because you haven't got enough power to stop people. But I didn't realise how tough he was. I don't suppose he'd been tested since Till Cordina, and that's when I thought, fuck, he got a chin on him. He can take a good shot, and he's tough. And I didn't realise, even though I've seen him live a handful of times, I didn't realise quite how tough he was, and he showed that again last night.
yeah, I think the problem Gavin had, he didn't have quite the power to keep Tennyson at bay and to even make Tennyson worry about what he's going to get in return. So the whole time Tennyson was just in punching mode. He never really had to look for Gavin because Gavin's not really a very elusive fighter, so he's not difficult to get to. He's just so physically tough and strong that he's able to offset other fighters. Like when he fought Myron Mills, I mean, I was doing the commentary on S4C with Gary Lockett that night, and Myron Mills, he was a bit too good a boxer for Gavin over the first 3 rounds, but Gavin, apparently he had a conversation with Tony Borg in the corner, and Tony just said, look, you got to put it on him. And from that point on, Gavin was just able to manhandle him and outwork him. But I don't think he was able to do that last night, just because Tennyson was I think Tennyson seemed to have the core strength. His physical strength was strong. He was stronger than Gavin in the clinches as well a lot of the time. And Tennyson just didn't really care what Gavin threw at him. So he was able to, every punch was thrown with an intention to hurt him. He didn't have to work his way in or anything. He didn't have to, he was just in punching mode the whole time.
It looked like, from me, that the game plan was, obviously they know how tough Gavin is, so I think it looked to me that the game plan was sort of rope-a-dope him. Sit there, try and leave him tee off a little, try and block as much as you can, fire back a little bit, and hope he blows himself out in the later rounds. That's what it looked like to me, that they were trying to take him into the later rounds, hoping that, because everything he was throwing was a bomb, so you can only do that for so long in a fight, really. But it's a risky strategy, really, and you know what I mean. You've got to try not to get hurt and hope that he tires himself out and then come strong in the later rounds. Which, against someone like that you know you haven't got the power to stop, that he's not going to respect your power, then maybe that's probably your best bet. And it was sort of working because I had him winning a couple of rounds. I think Tennyson was like miles ahead. Yeah, he wasn't miles ahead in the cards or nothing. Although, like, it's a Sky show, so he might have won every round on the Sky cards, you don't know. But realistically, Gavin took a couple of rounds off him, boxed well, took some good shots on the gloves. I watched a little Instagram, I think it was Instagram, video that Gavin put up today, saying it's the hardest he's ever been at, ever in his life. That says a lot about the power of Tennyson. Because Gavin's been in like top 4 all around the world as an amateur, and I don't know, he's been in with the likes of Cordina. So it says a lot about the power. I don't know about. I think Eddie got a bit excited after it in his thing, saying he wants to put Tennyson in with Linares and next, and I was like, fuck, are you trying to get him killed or what? You already nearly killed Anthony Crawley, you horrible fucker. Now you're trying to kill fucking Tennyson.
Well, Tennyson's he's had a shot at the world title before, and he fought, is it Farmer? I can't pronounce his first name.
Yeah.
I think he just stopped in about 5 rounds, I think it was. So I think Tennyson's probably, he's one of those guys who would probably give any fighter a tough night. I'm not quite sure if he might be just a slight level below true
At the
world
moment,
class,
he
I
might-
think.
Yeah, he might reach there. I think he's only young, isn't he? Is he young?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing midday 20s, perhaps.
He's got a couple of years left in him, I think. I mean,
About 27, I think.
he might get there, but yeah, I agree with you. Like Linares and all like that, he's mixing it with the big boys then.
Yeah, even though I will say,
Oh,
Linares, he has been stopped a couple of times and stopped early. He's one of those type guys. In some fights, he looks like he can take a baseball bat across the head. In other fights, if he gets caught cold, I think he has been stopped in the first round a couple of times.
Yeah, if you're able to catch, well, it gives him a shot then, doesn't it? Because he's got the power to stiffen anyone up, I think.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If you want to say, is he world class? He possibly got world class power for that weight. So
yeah,
whether he's got the rest of the skills to step up to that level, I don't know. But you could see he got world class power. I suppose Gavin Gwynne will probably tell you he's got world class power.
Yeah.
But it shows his chin, though, Gwynn's chin, because it hit him on like the top of the head, this area, didn't it? And scrambled him. But he done the sensible thing. It shows he got a bit of a brain about him as well. He took a knee. Because most people will be too brave for their own good, won't they? Like an Enzo. Enzo gets hurt, and he'll keep on coming.
Just fires back.
Yeah, and puts himself in danger. But Gavin showed quite a good head on his shoulders last night. Took a knee, and he tried to hang in as long as he could. He didn't get iced. He went out on his shield, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was.
I think as well there was a point in our sixth round where it seemed actually Gavin was almost like you said he was in the fight and he was making it difficult for Tennyson. And I was always thinking, if it gets to maybe round 7, 8, 9, it might be interesting. There was a moment when all of a sudden Gavin, for the first time in the fight, grabbed hold of Tennyson. I thought, oh, this is something different. Because up until that point, Gavin had never really grabbed hold of him. And I think he might have actually been hurt slightly even before the first knockdown. I know he went down with a body shot first of all, wasn't it? But I think he might have actually been hurt before that. And so if you watch the fight, he just momentarily grabs Tennyson to slow him down, and that was the first time he'd ever really done that in the fight. And I think that was sort of the turning point then, really.
Like before, I was telling my brother, before he fought Codina, I thought, like I say, I watched him from, I think I might have watched his debut and a good handful of his. He's had 14 fights now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I must have watched probably 9, maybe. He got to be. And like I said, he doesn't have like respect me power, if you want to put it that way. Although he's a good boxer, and he you know what I mean? I'm not saying he does bang a little bit, but it's not enough to stop somebody marching him down. But before the Codina fight, I was like, I don't know whether he's that good. You know what I mean? There was that question. He hasn't fought anyone. I know he fought. What was that Mills? You said
Myron Mills, yeah, from
He
Swindon.
fought. I know he fought him, and he's respected, and no, he's not a name, but he's just that level underneath. That was a step up. But other than that, there was no real notable names on the list. But so it was always that question. But then when I watched him against Codina, I was like, well, he surprised. I thought Codina might just smash him out with that fairly early. But he put it on. You know what I mean? He gave as good as he got, and really surprised me, to be honest. And after that, I thought, well, you never know. I know that tennis and it's hard, but you never know. After I think Eddie thought similar things. Like this guy, he's actually all right. And I think he put on that video. I think he's talking to Eddie, or he's been talking to Eddie already. We're trying to get out before the end of the year. So Burns obviously impressed, and
yeah, I think boxing, the fault with boxing for a very long time is that a loss in the past, or a couple of losses, sort of spells the end of your career. Yeah. And I think boxing through MMA and mainly the UFC has learned that as long as you're in entertaining fights, and as long as you give the fans value for money, why shouldn't you keep on fighting on big shows? I'd rather watch an exciting fight with a few losses rather than a guy with an unbeaten record against Mexican road sweepers who's just going to have a boring points victory.
Oh, 100%. And that's like some of my favourite. I'm just trying to pull his record up now because I know it's fucking rubbish. not rubbish, but it ain't great. If it was a boxing record, he wouldn't get booked on shows. It's Jeremy Stevens. He's fighting Barboza soon, and I'll read you his record now, right? And he's one of my favourite fighters because he brings it. This is his record. Jeremy Stevens, who's just been booked again. I think he got knocked out last fight against Calvin Keita by an elbow. His record is 28 fights, 18 defeats, 1 no contest. He's lost 18 times. And most of them are in the UFC because he's been in the UFC since he was like 21.
Yeah.
And but they keep booking him because he's entertaining. And he comes to win. And like I say, he won 28 fights. That's not really sniffed at. But he'll fight anyone, anywhere. And if Gwynne's got that mentality, which he seems to have, he's going for the best guys. He's not trying to get an easy British title, or he wants the best guys. And he's putting up a performance, which, I mean, anyway,
I think with Gwynne's style as well, he's obviously a volume puncher. He doesn't really load up too much of his punches or sit down on his punches to get, well, he hasn't got much power anyway, but I think apart from any other big punches out there, his style will be so difficult for most fighters because it's difficult to look good against someone who throws so many shots and is always in your face. So unless it's the guy, the guys like Tennyson who got absolute bangers. I mean, like Joe Cordina is probably a much better, well, not probably, is a much more talented fighter than Tennyson, but his fight with Gwynne was a lot closer because he didn't have the power to hurt Gavin, to make him respect his power to the point he was pulling away from him. Yeah,
and like you said just now, he can mix it up as well. He can sit in the ropes and take some shots and fire back. But like you said, what Tony told him, you need to put it on him, and he can turn it the other way, and he can like volume punch on the attacking side of it as well. Which I mean, he's pretty talented guy. I've always thought he's all right, but I thought maybe Welsh level will be his ceiling. But no, I've changed my mind definitely, especially with these last 2 fights.
Yeah,
he's definitely British level. There's no doubt about that.
And he's like I said, he's got his name out there now, and probably if this fight had taken place prior to lockdown on the May 9th card, I think it was in Cardiff, chances are we probably would, even if it had been a cracking fight like it was, we probably wouldn't be talking about it now. Well, we probably would, but the general public probably wouldn't, because it would have got forgotten in amongst all the other big fights. The Lee Selby fight on the same card, probably Anthony Joshua would have a fight coming up, Fury would be having a fight coming up. But the fact it was on lockdown as well, and basically fight fans are starved of any action, it's given Gavin a great platform to show what he's got, basically.
Yeah, he's definitely, and it was it was co-main event, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and on the first fight camp, so that's another big thing. Everyone's tuning in to see what Eddie Hearn does after his, you know what I'm going to say, after his live TV. That was fucking amazing.
Brilliant.
That was amazing. Come on, motherfucker.
There we are. Just sorry to interrupt you, Dai. Obviously, people are watching this now. I'll be editing these videos for the TTLO. I'll actually include that video in right now. If people have missed it, this is the Eddie Hearn video we're talking about.
It's spectacular. It's spectacular. And I've been in those positions. I know, right? You could see by his face. I bet afterwards, when he went back to the office and they all laughed it off, I bet he sat there and thought, why did I say that? Why? All the things I could have said.
Yeah.
Why did I say that? I've been in that position, right? Tell you a short story. I might have told it on here before. I was working in a sports shop. I was 17. And there was a girl working there called Lindsay. And she'd just come back from playing football in America, right? She was like, she had shoulders on, I'll put it that way. She was a bit tomboyish. She wasn't a lesbian or nothing. She had a boyfriend, but she was a bit of a tomboy. Anyway, we're all downstairs, and all the shoes are on display. And for some reason, I just grabbed this women's shoe that's on display. I looked at the tag because it looked big. Looked at the tag, it was like size 9. And I don't know why I said, what, in front of everyone, what kind of monster of a woman walks around with size 9 fucking shoes? And she just looked at me when I'm size 9. I just put it down, turned away. I was like, why? It didn't even have to say anything. It was one of those, I guarantee that's what he thought yesterday. Like, why did I do that? Why did I say anything? It was just one of those things. I put a new foot in your mouth. But that was tremendous TV yesterday.
And if anything, actually, that probably helped promote the show. because that would have spread, like, well, I think it was watched over 3 million times, which is actually probably more than the actual show was. So it was watched over 3 million times on Twitter, which just promoted the fight camp. So people probably think, oh, what's this fight camp about?
Oh yeah,
Just
no
because
doubt.
Eddie Hearn making a mistake.
No doubt. And I've never been a big Eddie Hearn fan. I don't like most of the fights he puts on. He recycles a lot of boxers that he knows are on the way down, and guys who potentially shouldn't be fighting for world titles. But that's another thing. But I kind of, especially with the no context Hearn on Twitter and things like that, I'm taking a bit of a shine. Not that he cares, but I'm taking a bit of a shine to him, I'll be honest. He seems, with his interviews and stuff, he seems just like a normal bloke who's got a bit of cash and doing something he enjoys.
Yeah, just a normal multi-millionaire.
Yeah. But he's doing what I think a lot of people who love boxing would do if they had his sort of money. He's enjoying it. He's like, fuck it, we'll put it on in my garden. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
He's just enjoying it. And I wish he'd put on more competitive fights sometimes and stop trying to sell us bollocks. But I tell you who did look all right was that heavyweight from Ipswich.
Yeah.
Fabio.
I know the guy you're on with, yeah. But considering he was...
Wally, is it? Wally?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
He looked all right. Considering he comes from a white-collar background,
yeah.
he was all right.
I think you're probably going to get more and more of that now as people coming from a white-collar background. And I think boxing has to embrace it, really, because it's not going to go away. And obviously, like Gavin Gwynne, white-collar fighter, could be fighting for a Welsh title.
Yeah, and as it happens, my brother was the one to train him for the white collars.
Oh, right.
Little thing. He was in the warehouse in Swansea. He was training, and at Port Talbot as well. So yeah, it was my brother who trained Ciaran for that. But he did go to the amateurs then, because I remember cornering on the same show that Ciaran was fighting on and stuff. That was probably the first time I met him. He was fighting for, I think, Navan Spartans or someone like that. I think it was.
Yeah, it was. I think he boxed a couple of clubs.
Yeah. It's not like him to jump around gyms and stuff, is it?
I think he's only been a pro about 3 years. He's had about 4 different trainers.
I know, innit? 7 managers, 4 different trainers. I like him. He's a likeable.
He's a character, yeah.
He doesn't take it too serious, does he? He wants to do it, but he's always laughing and joking and having fun when he's doing it.
I think I've heard you tell the story a few times on this podcast about, well, you have never actually mentioned the person's name, but I think I'm guessing who it is. About the person who wants the green belt.
Yeah.
What's your ambitions in boxing? I want the green belt.
Yeah,
whereas,
I was like,
realistically, he probably, Welsh level is probably more realistic.
Yeah, like that guy has got some talent. There's no doubt about that, right? It's in his genes. He's got talent, but he hasn't got the discipline, and that's a fact. That's not me having a part with this particular guy, but. He just he just haven't got the dedication. Simple as that. Naturally talented, done it from a young age, but he's had too many people telling him he's amazing. And I could tell you, a coach who's doing that, and he does it to all of them, and it fucking winds me up. You probably know what I'm on about. Right? He's telling all these guys that they will beat us, they're going to be world champion. I'm like, oh, fuck. I've cornered against him, and my guy battered his guy. Because they all fight the same sort of style. It's fucking rubbish. They all fight the same when they're easy to fucking beat. But he tells them all they're fucking amazing, and they think they are.
Yeah.
But I'll leave the 4 listeners, try and guess, decipher what I'm talking about.
Well, you've actually probably, since I've started doing these podcasts during the lockdown, you've actually probably lost a listener, because I'm probably one of the listeners. So since I've started appearing on the shows, just helping with the Zoom and stuff, I've stopped listening because I don't generally like to listen to myself waffle on.
No, I used to listen to the very early ones, but I stopped as well. So there's 2 down. I think James doesn't listen anymore. So we might be down to 1. No, I think we're down to 0 because Sean used to listen. I'm pretty sure he don't fucking listen anymore. So it might be totally fucked. Let me text Lily.
Yeah, but just we say we got a bit sidetracked there. We're on with Goody, but I think with Goody. Yeah. Funny enough, I bumped into him recently. I was going for a bike ride. For people who don't know, me and Ciaran live quite close to each other.
Oh,
I bumped into, we live like, say, 2-3 miles. He just lives further down the valley from me. So I bump into him now and again, and here's somebody joining the podcast.
I just text him now.
Oh,
Whee,
there he
there
is.
he is.
So waiting for James's audio to kick in. If you've not watched this podcast before, James is the one with the hair.
Yo.
Very little hair.
Can you
Hello,
see
James?
me? Or?
Yeah, I can see you, yeah.
Yeah. What's happening?
You just... Oh, yeah.
Sorry, is that me?
Yeah.
I haven't done one of these for fucking ages. I don't know what's going on. What's happening there?
Just talking about the Matchroom fight camp last night.
Didn't see it?
Didn't see it? Oh, yeah, that's good.
No. I'll just log back out today.
Oh, we pretty
Thanks for your
much...
input, mate.
So what were you doing last night then, James?
I had a gender reveal party.
Oh,
right,
I've seen a video of that. I seen a video earlier on.
Yeah, so congratulations, John and Kerry, having a little girl.
Yeah, congratulations.
Wouldn't want to be any boy who goes out with his daughter, I'll be honest, but there we are.
No.
Get out.
No. Oh, fuck no.
Oh.
Jesus. But
God,
I like the way he handled it. He had one of the popper things and it didn't go off, didn't it? So he just
No.
launched it over the fence.
Yeah,
Hey,
as of that-
fuck it.
As of that, I seen like a couple of days ago, someone else had a gender reveal party, and they
And
took
it didn't
ages.
go off.
Yeah, it took ages to do it. Do you know Smithy from Portland?
I know we were on about, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought John was just having a balloon, so I didn't like pre-warn him. But then when he went on the stage, he was like fucking cranking it. I was like, "Oh fuck, it's not gonna go off."
That's when I seen he had a balloon and one of them, I thought that's going to be some spectacular timing if they get it at the same time.
Yeah. The countdown wasn't exactly great as well because they instead of going 3, 2, 1, they counted up to 3, so confused us all.
Carry on there for 2 minutes, boys. We'll be back in a second.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
This is a rare occurrence for me. This podcast.
I know, innit? I just said on here, I said, you never think you're a podcast host. I'll try and dial into my own podcast.
Yeah, at the minute, my boy's being a twat with sleeping.
Mine's been like that since he's been born. He's added on to being an absolute prick in the days as well now. He doesn't give a fuck about nothing. He's one naughty little fuck fella. He just looks at him, just looks at me as if, fuck off, and carries on what he's doing. Well, he blanks me completely. He tapped his hand as if to say, get off that. He looked at me as if to say, is that all you got? What the fuck? I can't do nothing with him. He doesn't give a fuck.
So he's been a little twat at the minute. So my missus got upstairs and obviously we've had enough. So I'm expecting it.
How old? Yeah, he's one now, isn't he?
Yeah, it was his birthday last week. What fucking day it is? I don't know what day it is.
Sunday.
Yeah. No, I know Sunday, but I don't know what date it is. I don't know what year it is. I don't know what's going on anymore. There's fucking aliens, there's pedos. I don't know what's going on.
You know who's been done as well? Is one of my favourite podcast hosts.
Who?
Fucking Brian Callen's been fucking done for rape. Or he's been accused of rape. Anyway.
Yeah, they're all going off. Fucking mate.
Yeah.
Trump is going after all the pedos.
Is that what he boxing Twitter group told you?
This is my own thing. This is fucking. I had to come off Instagram. I was fucking going down too many rabbit holes on it.
Why have you got to do Twitter?
I got something going on in the background, and I was warned that if previous tweets were brought up, it could get something pulled. So I started going through my old tweets. I've tweeted like 10,000 times. So I was like, fuck this. So I just iced my account.
You bow down to the pressures.
No, I gotta remember. I was thinking of like making like just an El Terror account where I just terrorize people on Twitter. But I gotta remember I'm in the public eye. And I forget that although I got idiots on my Twitter, like my mates who I can have a laugh with. I've also got like professionals on there who are looking at it, and they're like, this twat spent his night arguing with Thomas the Tank Engine. So that was a fucking bad 24 hours. I was fucking.
Why don't you give your new Twitter out for the 7 people who listen to the show, in case they don't follow you?
I don't know what it is. Oh, just my name, James Lilly 86.
J Lilly, innit?
All right, will you give it out then?
Kind of just did, didn't I?
I don't know what it is. Mate, I had a rubbish weekend.
That's mine, but that.
Huh?
Can you see it?
No.
That's mine there, where I'm pointing in the corner. Or where is it on yours? Over there.
What?
See what happens when you leave us, Key?
What are you pointing at?
Exact. Is my name in the corner of your screen? No.
No.
Well, yours is.
Kieran's just come up. It said Kieran Gibbons.
Yeah, and it says James's iPhone, and it says my Twitter handle there.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, all right.
I don't know if Dai was
Welcome back, James.
said to you there, James, that we just talked about Gavin Gwynne's last night and his sort of lack of power. As a fighter, obviously in boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, what can you do, if anything, to try and increase your punch power?
Well, the old school thought is like power is something you're born with, and I do believe, you know, there's some people, they just fucking built to crack hard, and some people aren't. But I think with all like the sides and stuff now, there's a good account on Twitter or Instagram called Boxing Science, and it's all like different workouts and stuff. So I think that there's ways of increasing your explosive power, but I think if you're either born to be a banger or you're not, like, you know. But I think there are ways to increase it, but you're never going to get that one punch knockout power if you're not born with it, I don't think.
If you're not born with it, do you think you can improve your chances of knocking people out by getting very good timing, or do you think that's something you give on as well?
No, I think, you know, I don't know. I think you can increase your power, but I don't think you could ever be, like, for example, John and Daniel, they've always been bangers since they were fucking born. They were probably fucking hitting their way out of the crib, like, you know, they're always going to be bangers. And I'm not like a one-punch knockout artist. I know I can crack, and I could probably increase it by doing, like, I think it's like deadlifts and stuff like that. Steroids, yeah. But I'm never going to be, like, you know, a one-punch knockout artist like them. But saying that, then Marquez was on the rise and he knocked out Pacquiao, so...
I agree with you to a certain extent on that. You can knock people out with timing and precision and speed and stuff, but there is that John Phillips thing where if he sneezes on you, you're gonna go to sleep. It is that natural, something you just can't teach.
I mean, has there been any of your fights, James, where you've got out thinking, right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be a puncher tonight, and you've got looking, you know, to plant your feet and look for a knockout, or have you always been a boxer first?
No, I went in a fight. You interviewed me after, actually, up the BKB when I fought.
I know you're all about,
yeah, and you know, I just fucking eked the decision, which probably should have gone the other way. But that night, you know, he'd been in his last fight, he'd been blasted out by Franco, so I took it for granted that I was just going to go out there and smash him, and he kept throwing that fucking right hook or left hook over the top, and I kept eating it. So yeah, I thought I'm just going to go out there and smash him, and it didn't turn out that way.
And what difference, I mean, you're probably the best person in the world to ask this question to. What difference does the gloves make? Obviously, boxing gloves was a 10 ounce and bigger, smaller, depending on your weight. MMA gloves were 4 ounce, I think. UFC gloves
4 ounces, yeah.
And then obviously bare knuckle, which is these days nothing at all, not even wraps. And how important is the hand bandage or hand furniture, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it's weird because, like, you see people get knockouts in like bare knuckle boxing, and they might not be bangers, and I think it's something to do with like a shock to your body or something, you know, like the knuckle on the bone. I think it's like a shock to your body, because it's like you see like knockouts in town, you see some guy come up and smack someone from the side, and it's like a shock, and their body doesn't know how to react. And I think you get more of like a highlight reel knockout in the bare knuckle boxing, even though you're not punching as hard because you smash your hand in bits. But I think it's like, because it's bone on bone, I think it must give your body some sort of, I don't know, some sort of shock to the system. But I don't, I think MMA is probably the best one to increase your power, because you can still crack like you do with boxing glove on, but obviously they're a lot smaller. And I think that's why when Mayweather fought McGregor, he was shouting at McGregor when he come back to the corner saying, "I thought, when are you going to start using your power?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I think MMA gloves exaggerate the power more than the bare knuckle does.
So I think when it might be your first BKB fight, you didn't you knock a guy down, and the referee counted to 10, and you started celebrating.
Yeah.
And the count is 20.
Yeah. Do you know the rules? Yeah. But yeah, that was it wasn't just me. It was like everyone was celebrating as well. I just turned up tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Who goes into a new sport doesn't know the rules? How many?
I went in with no cornermen either.
It was your brother, wasn't it?
Yeah, my brother and my cousin. Is that drinking at 6 a.m. on the way up to London?
I can't remember why I couldn't go. I think I was working.
You was working and you were going to try and finish at 3.
And you told me not to, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, mate, I'm on 7:30, because it was on TV. It's like, you will be on at 7:36, so like, you're never going to make it.
Yeah, I remember now, yeah.
LT had to pad me, didn't he?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Because they were on Pridmore. I was like, mate, I got no one to pad me. Can you pad me? And he's like, I've been on with little Chris all day. So, yeah, that was fun.
I'm just going to say there, Dai, when you were an amateur trainer, when you had a new boxer in the gym, you're obviously talking about punch power and things like that. When they first started training, how would you guide them and teach them? I mean, would you be looking for things like punch power, or would you just what would you do?
No, with kids, it'd be just show them the basic shots, how to throw them, start padding them, and just leave them try and, because everyone progresses at different rates when you're kids. Some pick it up easy and are athletic, and you spot them straight away. And others, it takes a longer time. But then 18 months down the line, they could be really, really good. It's just taking them a lot longer to get it. So it's not like at that age as well, they either hit hard or they're fast, fast hands. It's not trying to teach any of that. It's just to see what they got. And with adults, it's like you say, they either hit quite hard or he got a good backhand on him or something along those lines. And we just work with what they got then and try and improve everything else. Obviously, we try and pick out the strengths and play to them, but we just try and round everything else off as well then. So just try and work with what he got and improve everything else.
But would sometimes, like when a youngster starts in a gym or a new boxer or whatever, or even MMA fighter, and they'd straight away you think, bloody hell, they're a puncher when you hold the pads.
Yeah. It's like a boy we got now, Johan. He's a judo boy. I think he's 20. He's never, when he first come training with us 8 months ago, he couldn't even throw a hook. It was like he'd never thrown a punch in his life, but showed him the basics, and his right hand is pretty tasty, and he's big and long for the weight as well, so it's hard to get in on him. But if he catches you with that straight right, there's anyone at his weight and an amateur, I think he'd be able to drop them. He's just got hard hands. He's rangy. He's fast. So yeah, there are little things like that. Like one of our boys, little Josh, his leg kick. It's a similar thing. It's just hard. It's fast and it's hard. And he's not trying to throw it hard. It's just one of those things. So yeah, you do get sometimes you're holding the pads and you're like, ooh, might have one beer. Yeah, that was pretty spicy. So yeah, you do come across that, and then you just gotta not get too excited and try and build everything else around that.
remember, I think it was Darren Bushby told me, actually, I did check, and he was right, that Tommy Hearns, the Hitman Hearns, when he had his best knockout ratios in boxing history, I think as an amateur, he only had about an handful of knockouts, maybe 5 or 6 knockouts. And then when he turned pro, he was just knocking out the best fighters in the world.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? It's like, I know that there's, I don't know what it was like back in like the 70s and 80s, whether the rules are that different from the amateur, but I know the bigger gloves, but it's bizarre how they just go, you watch videos of like Joe Calzaghe in the amateurs and he's cracking people up with the left hook in the amateurs. It's just berserk. For some people are just nothing in the amateurs and then they turn pro and they're knockout artists.
Yeah, I think with Joe, you mentioned Joe, I think early in his career, he's quite a good banger. He wasn't a knockout fighter, but he could definitely punch. But then as his career went on and his hand injuries got so bad, sort of changed his style into a boxer and volume puncher, really.
Yeah.
A good example of that is Johnny Nelson. He was a shit amateur, and then he froze a couple of times, didn't he, on the big stage?
Yeah, good.
And then he basically went back just to be a sparring partner, and then he turned it around. He's a good example of that. So just some styles suit the amateurs, and some styles suit pro. You might be an average amateur, and then very, very good pro. Just styles, and I think you've got to find the right coach as well if you go in pro. One that a few boys that we know love. You might be one of those as well, that you just never found that one guy who you gelled with early on and could have brought you on that little bit more. Because Tom Jones from Swansea, fucking brilliant boxer, absolutely tremendous, but he's retired after like 2 fights. I think you took a couple of pictures of him in Oceania.
Oh yeah, the name's familiar. I remember because a boxer called Tom Jones is going to stand out.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
He used to train in Liverpool because he was in uni in Liverpool, and there's pictures of him and Tony Bellew and stuff. I think he was British champ. He used to train on Spuds, didn't he, though?
Yeah, he was good amateur, Tom was.
Yeah, really good. And then he had 2 pro fights, never found a trainer for him, and just fell out of love with it. So
I think go on, sorry, James.
I think as well, like I was with like Terry and Paddy from sort of like the thing, but they only had like a handful of pros in the gym. Like when I went with Scouser then, although he wasn't, he'll tell you himself, he didn't have the best pro record. He was a seasoned pro, so he was telling me stuff then, like about the program. Which when I first turned pro, I turned pro at 19, and I was very naive. I thought, if I'm 1-0 and I'm fighting a guy from Bristol in Bristol who's 1-0, it's going to be even. But it doesn't go that way. It's weighted in the the home fighter's favour and stuff. And I didn't realise, and I didn't know stuff about like what a journeyman was, or how to get sponsorship until I went with Scouser, and he was like, well, why are you paying for all that yourself? So I'm going to sponsor it. I was like, oh, no, there's only like world champs who get sponsors. He's like, no, let me tell you. And then it's bizarre, like, because when I turned pro, Ricky was sort of 3-0, but he was with Matchroom at the time. Jason Williams had retired a couple of years, so there was no pros really around me who were in sort of a similar situation where they weren't signed to like a big promotion, so I could get advice off. So yeah, sometimes it's good to speak with your amateur coach, but more often than not, you've got to leave that behind and go with a pro coach.
Sorry, Keith.
No, you carry on, bud.
Question. No, the Scouser, he was what he would class as, I think, Buns. I remember Steve Buns talking about him before on Box Nation, saying what a tough bloke he was. But he was what he would class as a journeyman, yeah? And do you think, obviously he knows all the old tricks, tough as fuck, knows all the oldest tricks in the book. Do you think someone like that would be a better coach for a stable of like having a handful of journeyman fighters rather than a prospect? What do you think?
It's hard to say because it's weird because like he's got like loads of knowledge, but you look at like some of the top fighters in the world and their trainers were all like top level fighters. Oh, fuck. Right, I'm gonna have to nip a second out. I'll be back now. My body's kicking off. Stay there.
So just taking up what James said there about trainers, certain trainers I think are known as puncher trainers. Like prime example, Amir Khan, when he was with Freddie Roach was known as an aggressive trainer, a puncher's trainer. And then obviously Khan really had a couple of bad losses. To Garcia was one of them, I think. He switched trainer, if you remember, to Virgil Hunter, who's known obviously more of a boxer trainer. So I think certain trainers obviously they got a reputation for certain styles, I guess.
Yeah, it's the same as fighters. Like Tennyson's gonna walk you down, and Gavin's gonna try and box you. So you, like I say again, it comes to what you gelling with a trainer. You've got to go with a trainer that sort of suits your style or trains people in the style that you like to fight, or is more advantageous to you, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think one thing I would say for Guy Rocket, just for example, a Welsh example, he's a trainer, I think, but he's told me himself, he takes what a boxer has got and tries to mould them on their strengths rather than, like, I could give a few examples, you probably could as well, of trainers, and every single one of their fighters fights in a similar manner, whether it's to their strength or not. That's the way they fight.
I said one earlier.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The name that shan't be mentioned, but
yeah.
But with Gary's boxers, he got a stable of maybe 7-8 fighters, and they all fight slightly different. Like certain fighters will box a little bit more, some are more aggressive. And Nathan Thorley was obviously in action next week, I think. I mean, Gary's had him for a couple of fights now, and he's been modifying his style and the Gary. So I think that's probably the best way to do it, really.
Yeah, that's why Gary's so good. Like I've said it loads of times, people are going to go telling me to get off his nut soon, but for me, he's one of the best about that doesn't get talked about enough. He gets talked about down here because we are Welsh and we know the fighters and we know Gary and stuff, but in terms of great British trainers, he doesn't really get enough credit. He's had how many British champions have he had in that gym? He's had Blackwell. He's had 2-weight with Liam
Williams, yeah.
2-weight. Chris Jenkins. And he took Chris. Like Ronnie done great with him, but what did Chris have before he went? I think he had a WBC title, youth title, or whatever it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
International, WBC international belt. And the prize fighter with Ronnie. But he had to move it on, and he went with Gary, and now he's British Commonwealth champ. And would that have happened without him? I don't think so, because Gary he knows how to control Chris. Chris is fucking mad as fuck.
Yeah.
Chris is bonkers, but Gary manages to rein him in. If you leave Chris do what he wants, he'll start showboating or just acting a dickhead.
I think Chris,
in the best possible way.
I think Chris's biggest problem during fights is he likes to fight too much, and with his basically his eyebrows and the fact he cuts so much around the eyes stops him doing that. I mean, Chris is I think he actually, certain fighters enjoy fighting, some boxers don't. Chris actually enjoys standing there having a tear up, but his eyebrows and his hairline and there's the fact he cuts the ribbons in every single fight virtually stops him being that. So Gary is we saw in the fight with when he won the British title against Garton, where Gary read the riot act in between one of the rounds when Chris started to get overexcited, as you said. Yeah. And Gary basically stick to the boxing, don't get involved, just win the rounds, no need to get involved.
And that's why he's one of the best. Like I've said it a million times.
One of the a brilliant experience I had was when Enzo Maccarinelli fought at his rematch with Oval Mackenzie. And Oval Mackenzie, as we know, is a massive puncher, probably one of the most natural, hard-hitting blokes in world boxing, just pure power. I mean, he's not the best of boxers, but he is just a pure power guy. But I was literally sitting like a metre or two away from the ring in the sort of press section, and I could listen to Gary in between the rounds, and he was brilliant in that fight. Because as you said earlier, Enzo's not the type of fight. If Enzo went on the back foot, he'd lose his natural aggressiveness, and that'd probably be the worst thing he could do, because you're just inviting the fighter onto him. But at the same time, you don't want to be going totally crazy and just leave yourself wide open for for shots against a puncher like Mackenzie. And Gary, I would love to have had a video camera on Gary in between rounds for that. I think it was the 11th round ends who knocked him out, I think, in the end. But it was brilliant to watch.
Gary is top. Because you could tell he's a good coach, even if you just watch his analysis on Box Nation or whatever. You can tell he's got the brain. He's not just a guy who's got experience of that. That's a fucking bad luck, that is. Jesus.
Back.
But as I was saying, you can tell he's not just a guy who's coaching from experience. He's got a good brain behind him as well, so which makes him, in my opinion, one of the best.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you, Dai. Now we got James back. I got a question I want to ask you both, and I don't want any sitting on the fence. Okay. So, but you got a bit of time to think about it. Who is the hardest punching fighter to ever come out of Swansea? And wait now, you got 5 minutes to think about it, because I got a bit of a short list here, and I'll read out the possible short list. If there's anyone else you want to add, feel free. So, in chronological order, Colin Jones, 26 wins, 23 knockouts, fought for the world title 3 times, probably should have won it twice, but lost close decisions. Knocked out guys like Kirtland Lang, British champion. Just look at his record of box rec. Enzo Maccarinelli, 41 wins, 33 knockouts. Beat guys like Courtney Fry, Oval Mackenzie, who I mentioned. He beat the Russian in the first round to become European champion. Again, he's got a list of highlight knockouts. Bruce Selden, I think he beat as well. Bruce Scott, sorry.
You won knockout of the year for that, Scott one.
Yeah.
And Dominguez when he fought him in the uppercut.
John Phillips, I can't do Wikipedia anyway.
Stand. John.
22 wins, 20 knockouts. And it's difficult to judge this one, but I put Daniel Lerwell in the list as well. In his BKB record anyway is 4 fights, 3 knockouts, but it's difficult to judge just because of you don't necessarily know how good the guys are he's fought, he's beat. CJ Mills, Peter Radford, Ricky Nelder.
He's 2-0 on the Kingsway as well, in drag.
But so that's a short list. I don't know if there's anyone else I missed out who should be on there. I don't know. But it's the hardest punching fighter from Swansea. I'll leave it to you two Swansea boys.
I'll go. Do you want me to go first?
Well, you could evaluate it. Yeah. Carry on. Yeah.
Right. I would. It's hard with Colin Jones because I haven't really seen a huge amount. I know how successful he was and stuff, but John Phillips obviously is not to speak for himself. So he's in the top 2. It's between him and, for me, Dan, because I've seen that live. And Dan didn't seem to hit Radford sweet or flush or, do you know what I mean? He didn't wind it right up. He just sort of threw it, clipped him. And I've never seen a human touch someone like that and they go out, tipping, went down like a tree. And he didn't, like I said, he didn't wind it up. He didn't fuck. I'm going to have to go for Daniel. Controversial, I might be.
Yeah, that is controversial.
But I've never seen someone, he didn't even hit, he just touched him. And he just fell over like a tree.
I think the only thing I'd say with Daniel is, because BKB is quite a new sport, you don't necessarily know how good the guys are he's beaten. Like, I don't know, have a clue really about CJ Mills or that Radford. The only one I do. Sorry, go on.
Radford had a couple of BKB fights. I think he had like a 2-1 record or something.
Has he lost to Sweeney as well? Sure, he lost to Sweeney.
Radford had experience when that was Daniel's first fight, and Radford is 7 foot fucking 40.
Nice, fucking the biggest bloke I've ever seen.
But that's my choice because he didn't even. It wasn't like the sweetest punch I'd ever seen. It was barely like a hook. He just sort of threw his arm up at him and he went to sleep. And I was like, what the fuck? But that would be what I know John can do that as well. But John, I don't know, it's different with John. Every punch he throws is to take your head off, right? So everyone is hard, but then doesn't seem to like put a lot into them, and they still go to sleep. So that is why I say Daniel.
James?
What's a thing where you can't represent someone because there's a conflict of interest?
You don't count on podcasts.
They don't fucking listen.
Again, it's fucking really hard to say because I was thinking about this the other day. I actually tweeted about it on my old Twitter account.
Let's save our story for after.
I said, like John, he's fighting in the UFC now, which is, by all accounts, the top MMA organisation in the world. So
By
the
all
top
accounts.
one, yeah,
By all accounts, it is without.
yeah, But if you fucking work for Bellator, you're going to see Bellator is the best in the world, aren't you? Come on. But and well, they got like the top 1% of fighters in the world, yeah. So I know, like John, obviously he was knocking everyone out at like different levels, but when you got guys who are like the top 1% of fighters in the world and they won't stand with you, that does go to show that you've got world class power. Because you haven't got like fucking that what's his face the other week, the Chechen, he was giving it the big one and mouthing, but he fucking shot as soon as he fucking could, So
Ciaran.
But is that just because in MMA and UFC you got the option of not standing toe to toe?
You don't want to take the risks, you do.
No, but if it was boxing, just for example,
yeah,
or bare knuckle boxing, you'd have to stand because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
So these guys, it's basically why meet the lorry head on when you can do something a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. But so some of these guys, like I remember the first guy he fought in the UFC.
Charles Bird.
Yeah, he was Kid Dynamite.
Kid Dynamite.
Yeah, and he said he based himself on Tyson, and as soon as the fucking buzzer went, he jumped straight for his ankle. That's the way it is. And so who's going to be my hardest puncher? Now I've sparred John and Daniel, so I know they can crack. Never sparred Enzo, but he can crack. Colin Jones, different era.
Colin Jones had the shit gloves on as well, remember? Not like Daniel don't wear gloves, but the gloves that Colin Jones was boxing in are barely fucking bag mitts, are they?
When you consider that Colin Jones, his first 2 world title shots were actually in America, I think, against McCrory. And he lost a draw the first time.
Draw on first one. He got robbed, didn't he?
Yeah, and a split decision lost the second time. Both in America.
We haven't really give Enzo any credit yet because Enzo's a fucking banger.
Exactly,
If he left up 2 in the ribs, you shit in blood for a while.
I think Enzo Maccarinelli's got to be one of the best left hookers in British boxing, I'd say, for the last 2-3 decades. Just pure power. Yeah, look, here's some of the guys Enzo's knocked out. Courtney Fry, Oval McKenzie, the Russian guy whose name I can't pronounce.
What was
Hobson.
Is it Wayne Cunningham, is it? No, not Wayne Cunningham.
Wayne Braithwaite.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went the distance with him, didn't he? Yeah, that was probably Enzo's best boxing display as such. And he beat the
Argentinian Dominguez.
That's it,
on
yeah.
ITV, wasn't it? He was on ITV.
Yes, that was on it was meant to be a Calzaghe bill, wasn't it, in Millennium Stadium, but Calzaghe pulled up injured and Enzo ended up, I think it was Danny Williams and Matt Skelton or someone ended up as the main event, and Enzo, the co-main event with Enzo, and he knocked him out with that uppercut, I think, did he? The Argentinian?
Yeah.
That was a hell of a punch.
That Dominguez
that was the first time he's been stopped, that Dominguez, yeah.
Yeah, he was dangerous as fuck when Enzo fought him.
Yeah.
And Enzo iced him cold. So we are like straight away in glossing over Enzo and Colin Jones.
And is it Mark Hobson he fought for the British title?
Yeah, he beat Mark twice, I think.
Yeah, he struggled, didn't he, the first time, and then he fucking pinged him behind the ear in the second fight and sparked him clean out in a round.
I think, was the second time on the Calzaghe Lacey undercard? I think it might be.
Sure, because I'm sure that Hobson come in late notice in the first fight, and it went to the scorecards, and Enzo didn't knock himself, and then in the rematch, he just smacked him behind the ear and he just put him away. So,
but I think Enzo's... go on, sorry, James.
Go on, Johnny.
But I was in Enzo's... I think he's a different type of puncher to, say, John Phillips, just for example.
Yeah.
But Enzo's more of he puts his punches in the right places.
Technical. He's more technical puncher.
He aims for the chin. Really good timing. Aims for the sweet spot when he throws the left hook to the body. Whereas John Phillips, from where I've watched anyway, he just puts a punch straight through you. Like he lit you on the arms, the guard. He literally punch straight through your guard.
John could jab you in the shoulder and knock you out.
Am I right in saying John boxed in Swansea, Gwent? That's where he started?
Yeah, that's where he started, yeah.
I mean, what was he like as an amateur boxer?
Very good amateur. He won the Welsh seniors. He was close to go. Say again, sorry?
I think he won the Welsh Fest 5 years on a bounce, going up a weight every year.
Yeah. He was going to go to the Commonwealth Games as well. He was close to going to the Commonwealth Games, and then the EBA found out he was a pro cage fighter, so they stripped him of the Welsh seniors, and then they couldn't take him to, I think it was Australia.
He talked about it on the podcast, didn't
he? Yeah, remember that.
And he told him he'd never box again.
Yeah.
But from John's point of view, I mean, you're both saying what a brilliant stand-up fighter he is, obviously he is. Would you not be better suited to boxing than UFC, or is it just the fact that the UFC, he's there now in the UFC, I suppose, so anything else would be a come down?
Yeah, he always wanted to go back to boxing at some point, and he was all about going pro. And I know Enzo was trying to get him to go pro and stuff for a while. But then I think it got to a point where he was earning good money. You know, he's a well-known name around the globe for MMA. And, you know, he was fighting in places like top of the building, Cage Warriors, top of the building, Bama. So did he really want to take a step back and start all over again and go to the pros?
I suppose with MMA as well, UFC and Bama and stuff, there's a lot more structure in boxing. You're a bit of a career path. As opposed to boxing, it's just like the Wild West, really, isn't it? Pro boxing.
Exactly. And, you know, even if he signed with, which he probably would have, like someone like Frank Warren or Eddie, and you're looking at like 2 or 3 years before you get to the domestic level, and then obviously he's gone and signed with the UFC. Whereas I'm sure if you've got a choice of being a pro boxer or you know, signed with Matchroom or signed with the UFC, a lot of people go for the UFC because you've already kind of made it signed with the UFC. You could get signed to Hearn Warren, and you still haven't made it until you get to that next level. Like once you're in the UFC, you're signed the best in the world. Anyway, rather than digressing, I'm gonna go with Enzo Mack, simply because he knocked out prime Roy Jones Jr. And if Roy Jones Jr. knocks out Mike Tyson knocked out Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes beat Ali all the way back. Enzo Mack would be the greatest of all time.
Enzo Maccarinelli might be the linear heavyweight champion in the world, isn't he?
Exactly, yeah. All the way back. So that's why I go with Enzo Mack.
Oh, well, so James is saying Enzo and Dai saying Daniel. And apologies as well to anyone whose name we've missed out.
You know,
we've got to go pound for pound, right? Would you put Jay Harris in there pound for pound?
I was just going to say, but the only problem is he's only 8 stone.
Yeah. A strong gust of wind will lift him off his feet. Never mind a John Phillips left up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what's the hardest you've been punched, James? What's the hardest puncher you faced?
Fuck my old man, probably.
Grogan buzzed you, didn't he?
Yeah, Grogan buzzed me. Like, I've never actually been like, I got sparked in the amateurs because I went senior like as soon as you could, like 17, and I beat a guy who was knocking everyone out in my first senior fight, and I fought some guy, and he fucking proper dropped me. Like I can remember he hit me with a left hook, and I woke up on the canvas, but I hit the canvas and it woke me up, and I've never really been hurt since then. Like never been like thing. Like Leon Trott buzzed me with a headshot, and I took a knee. And I've been buzzed with headshots, like, but I've never been, like flashed, like knocked. You know, I sparring with Daniel and John. Obviously, if they put it on you, it hurts, like, and you get a bit fuzzy. But I don't know, like it's hard to say. In who's the hardest puncher I've ever faced? I don't know. It's hard to say that because I like the way I box. I don't take many punches. Like, you know, I don't take many of them flush.
Oh, I don't know, man. Fucking hell. Who was the guy I cornered you against? What was his name?
Starkey.
Morgan Starkey.
Yeah.
He hit you with that. He only threw an overhand, right? And he hit you every time. Like an Omen missile it was. Every fucking time. You hit him well, don't get me wrong, but he just kept picking. I was like, what's he fucking doing?
Was that BKB, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like to make it interesting.
Oh, fuck yeah. I got a bad heart, and I got me in a corner, and you were taking flashlight hands over the top. You're trying to fucking kill me.
Do you ever watch Brassic on Sky?
I've watched the first few episodes, the first
Right.
series, I think.
I was watching it the other day, and in it they got there's a strip club, and I was looking at one of the strippers, and I was like to my missus, I said, I fucking know her, and she went, what do you mean? I said, I know that stripper, and she went, where? I said, I don't know, and she was like, oh, I thought you must have seen her in something else, and she comes up in the second season, she's like an extra, and she must work there all the time because she's done loads of episodes. I'm like, I know her. She was one of the BKB ring girls up in Liverpool.
Shit.
I was like, how do you know? So I was like, you don't know a stripper? I was like, I do, I know it.
How you remember all that? I don't know, because I barely remember anything from that day.
I can remember winding Dino up in Costa Coffee with riddles, and he was getting proper confused.
That was brilliant. That was good. But
that was a good day out, that was.
Have you had any news, James, from BKB regarding your September? Is your next fight supposed to be?
Yeah, it's actually, yeah. I personally, you know, the problem they got is the O2 and the Indigo rooms have said, yeah, you can book the earliest dates in September. I think everyone was banking on this trial that was going to happen over the next couple of weeks, where they were going to let crowds into, I think it was the snooker or whatever. And obviously Boris Johnson pulled it all on Friday. And to go with that, it affected my work as well, because he put back the opening casinos, so they've had to re-furlough some of the staff. So I can't see it happening in September personally. I've spoken to Jim and Joe, and they said, yeah, the O2 said it'll be on. One of the boys messaged the O2 to say, you know, what's going on, and, you know, I'm trying to get hold of the ticket office, and they said, oh, the ticket office is not open yet. We don't know what we're going to do with the events that are booked for September, whether we need to social distance, and we're just waiting on the government. So I think a decision's going to be made probably next week or the week after, but I'm not holding out much hope for it personally, because the thing I was saying the other day is like, you look at like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, they're putting on shows behind closed doors. Cage Warriors are putting on shows behind closed doors. Surely, if something like the Indigo Rooms was available, that had 3,000 capacity, even if it's only 3,000 crowd, they would have booked them just to get some of the gate back in. You know, especially Cage Warriors, because Cage Warriors have done shows there, and they've been looking for somewhere to do shows, and they're doing free behind closed doors. So surely you would have had somewhere you could have had like a little crowd in. So I can't see it happening myself personally. I'm training for it, sparring, I'm ready. I'm fat, but I'm ready. But yeah, other than that, I personally can't see it happening.
Yeah, because the Indigo's it's a real tight sort of place as well. There's not much space in there really.
Yeah, well, I got a friend who was I was in school with, and he's an actor up in London, and he put a picture up the other day of the theatres, the way they've got the theatres marked out so they can hold plays, and they've got like 2 seats, a gap, 2 seats. So, you know, BKB relies on the gate a lot as well. You know, I know they've got some TV deals and stuff, but they rely on their gate. So, you know, I can't see anything happening until October. But
I think I read somewhere that Eddie Hearn, for this fight camp setup, he's spent out about £5 million. I'm guessing that includes fighters' wages, obviously the setup of the hotels, the testing. So I guess that's for the whole 5-week setup. But and I guess Sky, I don't actually know this. I'm just presuming this. I'm guessing Sky Sports, they're so desperate for any live sport just to keep their subscribers happy, are probably throwing in a few quid as well.
Yeah,
to-
it's.
I was thinking that last night, man. Sky would have to probably pay him to put it on, even though he's already got a deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, as well, like you've got, like, when you sign the contract with, like, Sky, obviously Frank Warren signed with BT, UFC, ESPN, you've got to put a certain number of cards on by the end of the year. So they've probably, say they sign like a £20 million deal with Sky Sports, they've got to put 10 shows on this year. They've probably spent that £20 million on, like, you know, hiring venues, other wages. So they need to get those 10 out, otherwise they'll owe Sky money. I know it's a different situation with COVID and stuff, but you've got to put certain things. That's why, you know, UFC is sticking on like a show every week now behind closed doors. They had like 5 shows in 2 weeks in Fight Island because they needed to get the shows and get the numbers up. So, and obviously, you know, they need to get their fighters out as well. But yeah, you know, places like smaller shows like the BKB stuff, they're not going to. I don't think it's going to survive without the tickets. I don't know what I think BKFC was on last week. I'm not sure if they had a crowd there.
No idea.
They
I know Jim got a couple of quid, I know that, obviously, but I don't think he's got the capital to put shows on without crowds, like you say. There's only a handful of organisations that can do that. Eddie and Frank Warren, Cage Warriors, UFC, Brave, they're all big time mainstream sports, which BKB's not at the moment, regardless of how much they want to be. They're not at the moment, are they?
No.
Yeah.
And I suppose by the time you pay the fighters, pay the venue, pay all the accessories, I mean, even on a normal show, there's not much profit left. I don't think.
No, exactly. You know, they made. I know they used to make quite a bit of money when they were doing the pay-per-views in the US, and that's why they used to have a lot of ex-UFC fighters on, like Chris Lytle, Melvin Glad, because a lot of the MMA fans in America would go mad, but then they'd be like, oh, my ex-favourite UFC fighter's fighting bare knuckle in England. So they'd buy like a $4.99 pay-per-view, and they used to get a lot of money back from that way. But I think with the deals they've been making with you know, different TV companies, I don't think they can do as much anymore. I could be wrong, but yeah, like you said, they rely heavily on the gate at the moment.
Okay, guys, I haven't got a quiz this week. Sorry.
Yeah,
I've been checking all the catalogues of fridges and everything.
But one thing you can do, if you want to, if you've got 5 minutes or 10 minutes left, you can play a word association game.
Yeah, I like that.
So it'll be. I don't know you're looking on your screen, but it'll be James, myself, Dai, and then James. So James, Ciaran, Dai, and we'll carry on. No repetition, no hesitation, no P's and S's. And go on and Dai, you can start then because you're looking enthusiastic.
You know what? P's and S's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just lost.
What do you mean?
You can't say anything with a P or an S.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh no, they've all got S's. Everything I'm thinking of. Window.
Door.
Frame.
Glass.
Opaque.
Oh, it's got S. Fuck.
No.
No, the first.
Right. I don't know that I know this. Can we go again?
Go on, glass.
I said opaque.
Oh, what?
Opaque.
Opaque.
Yeah.
What's opaque?
It means you can't see through it.
Oh, blind.
Dog.
Oh, what?
Dog. You said blind. I said dog.
Oh.
It's a guy dog, isn't it?
Oh, cat.
Rabbit.
Carrot.
Lettuce.
Green.
Paint.
P.
I didn't start. Oh fuck. Green. Grass.
Is someone not it?
Someone knocking my door, don't
Oh. As it happens, I went to watch. Speaking of
I'll leave you carry on with the boys, see who's knocking the door for a second.
speaking of games, I went out to watch the Swans in the playoffs the other day.
Oh yeah.
And my mate across the road, he was in school with me and he'd moved in, and my kids and his kids are the same age. So he's built a bar at his back garden. So he's like, "Oh, why don't you come over? And these two other boys will come over from my school." I was like, "Yeah, go on in. I don't support Swans, but I'll come over." So I was having a few beers and they played this drinking game. And like, obviously I'm not a very good drinker. And I could not fucking understand the rules of the games for the life of me. You had to throw a dart at the dartboard, and whatever the dart number you hit, that was your number. And you had to hit this number 5 times. Once you hit it 5 times, then you can go for someone else's number, and every time you hit their number, they got a drink. Right. And then if you hit a triple, that counts as 3, and then if you hit a double, it's 2. But when I was pissed, and they were explaining this to me, I wasn't getting it. So I'm just chucking darts at the dartboard. And I don't know what's going on. And I was steaming the time. I had like a dog me. Not much to drinker.
No, I'm not either.
No.
There we are, boys.
There we are. Is that number 60, Key?
Oh, I don't know, sorry.
I'm asking you, and it's our podcast.
I guess it's late 50s, I guess. I'm not sure exactly.
We've 100% done 100 episodes now, though.
Yeah.
Are the old ones still in storage somewhere?
I got them, yeah.
It goes online, shouldn't it? Really?
There's a couple missing, but I've got the majority of them. And when we had little hiatus, Christmas time last year, I don't know what month we're in. Fucking COVID,
yeah.
But we were sticking out old episodes. Like we got most of the good ones. We got like Sean George, like the first John Phillips.
You're right.
Yeah, Rayburn, Sugar Donkey.
I don't think Sugar Donkey's up.
Sugar Donkey.
Yeah, you know what that is? And I think I remember why we didn't have that one. Didn't we Facebook stream it live?
Yeah, Twitter. It was Twitter stream, I think. Oh, no. Yeah. That one was Facebook, and the second one was Twitter, because it came up on my Twitter the other day, and he was dancing. Oh. It was in the Demon Shield studios, and he was dancing in front of the camera.
We done one, didn't we, in your house?
Yeah, first one, yeah.
I don't think we got that one.
That was Sugar Donkey.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was amazing. Honest to fuck, that was funny.
Couldn't talk, I was laughing so much.
That was good. If we could find that one, that'd be good.
I don't think we got Goody and Ciaran Gavin.
I think that's on your Facebook, I think, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I've watched that on the Facebook.
Oh, we got a Facebook,
yeah. But, all right, if we're going to wrap it up, visit the YouTube page, which is TTLO Podcast.
Sorry, interrupted, Dai.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, James, I think we need to know what happened with you with your new Twitter account and why he was had to be created.
Yeah, I'll touch on this briefly. I touched on it at the beginning but so Saturday night, right? Unless I'm drinking, I don't stay up late. I'm rubbish. I'm in bed by 9:30. This is a struggle for me right now. And I was waiting for Brett's fight to come on because Brett was fighting at 11:30. And I can never go to sleep and then wake up and I'm going to have to stay up for this. So sitting on the sofa, looking through my Twitter, and one of the guys I know who's in part of the boxing Twitter community was arguing with this Thomas the Tank Engine character. And he was threatening to stamp on his cat and stuff. It was funny. So I got involved. And obviously, if you're posing as a children's cartoon character, you're going to get called a paedophile. And it goes on. So I found an article in The Sun that said there was a man pretending to be the fat controller and luring kids. And I posted it and said, see, we know. So anyway, it went back and forth for ages. Fucking ages. I forgot all about it. Watched Brett's fight. Went to sleep like a normal person. Woke up in the morning. I had like 60 direct messages. All these notifications. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? I had cartoon dinosaurs in my DMs. I had people pretending to be superheroes, saying I can't make fun of people and stuff. And it just went on and on and on. Then they went a bit dark and they started saying stuff about my kids and stuff online. So I lost the plot and I was threatening them and stuff. So they were all blocking me. So then I jumped on the TTLO podcast and I was DMing them. It just all went off. Someone, I got a little bit of a thing going on in the background. And someone messaged me, emailed me saying, "Oh, you know what? Want to work with you, love to work with you." He said, "But you can't go arguing with people on Twitter if they're railway enthusiasts." And I thought, what's he on about? And they're going to top of the tank engine. He said, if you get pulled up on this, it could cost you, you working us working together. So I was like, right, I better delete some of these old tweets then. Went through my phone, 14,000 tweets. Asked one of the guys, he said, "Oh, you can do like an advanced search, like search your name and then like all swear words." So I'm just like, oh fuck. So I was going through the tweets, deleting them. So I was like, oh, I can't be bothered with this. They were still DMing me messages, they're threatening to kill me and stuff. So I was just like, I'm just gonna ice my account to start again.
So this is count number 3, is it? Number 3 or 4?
This is number 3, but only because number 1 I got locked out of and I couldn't remember the password, so I started again. Number 2 I've had for about 7 years, and I had quite a good following on there, and I had some famous people. But I was one ban away from deactivation anyway. I've had about 3 24-hour bans, so I'm close to the edge. And Tom's the Tank Engine wants to kill me, so I thought I'd ice that. So this is account number 3.
Your number 1 is still active on there because you dressed as a baby on it.
Yeah, I tried DMing Twitter and being like, yeah, this is my old account, like I'm logged in. And then I got, it was, like when you first use statuses on Facebook and stuff from years ago, we're like, oh, I don't know, that's what these ones are like.
Oh, mine. I looked at my memories on Facebook. It's like, I'm writing, David Owen is going to have some food now. And I'm like, what the fuck are you writing that for 12 years ago? What the fuck? It's like that all the time. Think I'll have a bath. What the fuck? It's just, what do you want? If we went all the way back to my Facebook, it's like, this guy has got a brain injury or something. It's fucking terrible.
Didn't they used to be on Facebook? Didn't they used to have to start with David is feeling or something like that? Didn't that used to be the statuses?
No, I used to do it like that though. I'd have my name and
Yeah,
I'd be like,
they used to write half the status for you.
oh, you can do that. It's like, David is feeling adventurous and I'm going to walk up Lerwell or something like that.
Yeah, but it used to be you had no choice to do back then.
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. I joined and like somebody joined for me because I didn't know how to do it, and I've still got that same account.
Yeah, I hate Facebook.
From 2007. Yeah.
Facebook and
Wilbur, shut up. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Facebook's too personal for me, when you're like, oh, Sandra, put your washing out at 10 o'clock at night again, I'm going to shoot her and stuff. I'm like, oh, fuck it up. Can't be dealing with this. But,
Inbox me, babe. That's my fucking favourite. Yeah. I've had enough. I can't do it no more. What's the matter? I'll inbox you now. Like, fucking hell, you can't leave it like that. I want to know, like, what's the matter?
Yeah. And couples who are, like, in the same room and then message each other or put statuses up with each other and they sat on the same sofa. Just fucking talk to each other. Like, why are you putting statuses up?
The one that wrecks me, right? Before we go, I gotta get in. The one that wrecks me. Anybody doing any lifts? I got cash waiting. Yes, call a fucking taxi, you twat. Fucking ring up. You know what I mean? You willing to pay for a lift. That's exactly what taxi drivers are there.
Well, I gotta admit, I've done that in the past, but I do it without any money waiting. I just open for goodwill.
Oh, yeah. No, if you're going to ask for a lift for free, then you ask because nobody normally does that for free. So anybody give me a lift, please. Great. But the ones who go cash waiting, I'll pay you. I'm like, well, fucking phone a taxi then.
It's mad that people go on Facebook and they're like, oh, what's the weather going to be like next week? Google it.
Yeah, Google it.
You're on your phone anyway.
Anybody got a Domino's code? Fucking Google it, like. You're on the internet. Fuck off.
There's a guy who works anyway, Andrew, and he's a bit like a bit of a technophobe, and he's like, we usually sat opposite each other, and he'd lean over his computer and he'd be like, what's the best headphones to buy? I'm like, how the fuck am I meant to know that? I said, fucking Google it.
That's a great thing, though. You don't have to ask anybody a question anymore.
He still does. He's like, what do you think of these Dr. Dre beat headphones? I was like, I haven't got any in my ears. I was like, what are you asking me for?
There's probably 50 million reviews online.
I know, yeah. It's like, just Google it, man.
Lost you. Fucking hell. Right, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay, cheers, boys.
Oh,
Nice-
right,
nice
yeah,
to see you,
hang on.
boys.
Visit KOTV app, yeah?
Yeah, it's KOTV, kotv.boxing.tv. Download the app to your phone, loads of free boxing. There's a bit of MMA on there as well, a bit of kickboxing.
And tell your mates about the podcast and subscribe to TTLO podcast YouTube page.
And Twitter
Yeah,
page.
And stuff.
And tell us what you think is the hardest puncher in Swansea.
Can't say me. I don't know.
Right, cheers, boys.
Cheers, Keith. Nice
All
one,
the
mate.
best.
Ta-ra.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
What's that webbing? That's for fucking pedos and stuff, isn't it?
We lost 2 of our listeners. 4 left now.
I had Alistair over him to win by knockout.
I never crossed the track.
It was nice and fucking straight until you fucking touched it.
You said chocolate on a hip.
Yeah, you got bad it.
Get down, baby. Across
Let's go podcast. Woo!
Are we podcasting now?